Welcome to our Lively U Virtual Learning Academy program. Today's program is with Chad Plantz from Edward Jones. Our theme for today is college saving for your grandchildren. Welcome, Chad.
Well, thank you, Danielle. I appreciate you having us once again for these monthly educational seminars that we're doing. Like you had mentioned, today's topic is for college, getting there from here, figuring out strategies. So once again, my name's Chad Plantz with Edward Jones, local Edward Jones office here in Bowling Green. We're at 519 West Wooster Street. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I became a financial advisor here in Bowling Green. We actually opened this location a few years back. We opened this location just out of a passion for investing and helping folks meet their financial goals. So this is a big reason I come in each month to help present and bring education topics to people in the community to help them become more educated investors. So and today's topic once again is the college savings and strategies. So whether or not you're somebody that's viewing for your own child, or whether or not that's maybe just a loved one, whether or not it's grandchild or nieces and nephews or friends, right? This is all great information to take away. So diving right in here, and hopefully everything's popping up on everybody's screen. Our seminar today is designed to really help you become more educated when it comes to investing. Everybody has their own unique goals when it comes to trying to reach specific, investment goals. The big thing is to have a clear outlook on your future, and to do that, you should first evaluate where you are today, and only then can you really begin to set a clear and measurable goal for where you'd like to be. So really, we need that roadmap a roadmap to see if we're on track. So when your goals are determined, we need to evaluate whether or not they're realistic, right, based on the time horizon, the amount of time you have until you're wanting to achieve the goal, but also in regards to the investments you're comfortable with. So a trusted financial advisor can help you decide what tools and strategies can help you reach your goals. The more you know about the tools and strategies that are available to you, the more you'll be able to understand where your money is going and what it's actually doing for you. You'll obviously look to stay on track by evaluating where you are annually, whether you've reached your goals or what new goals you'd like to achieve. One thing to consider, though, is your current strategy working for you? Or are there adjustments that you should be looking to make? The path I have mapped out on the slide that you're seeing here on the screen now is only just one strategy to help you reach your long-term financial goals. So in this seminar, we're going to be, once again, providing information on the tools and strategies that are available to assist you in reaching, college saving goals, which may just be one piece of the puzzle for you. So as we move forward here, the cost of college. So we all know that the cost of college has become expensive, right? And the cost is continuing to grow every single year. So it is, it may be, if you're watching this video, it may be that it's been a while since you had to worry about paying for college, right? Or maybe you've never really, experienced paying for college. So that's where I ask you to, think about whether or not you're looking to, for somebody that's going to be looking to pay for college today, or whether or not that's, something that we need to be looking at inflation, right? What's college going to look like 15 years from now? So figuring out what an annual, range is for a college education, you may want to be thinking about, okay, well, is there a specific college that, we might be looking at, or are we looking at, a public university, right? In state, out of state. So there's a number of things when it comes to the cost of college. So this next slide here, for 2019, the 2019 and 2020 school year, annual education costs, so for tuition and room and board, are estimated to be $21,950 at public universities. And at private universities, that number actually increases to $49,000. Where your child chooses to go to school and whether or not the degree requires postgraduate work can greatly impact your savings goal. So deciding how much of the expenses you want to cover is the first step in developing a strategy to pay for college. For example, if your saving strategy, if you're looking to save for all, to pay for all college expenses, well, that's going to look a lot different in terms of what you need to put aside each month, rather than if you're just looking to pay for half of them. So the cost can seem a little overwhelming when you think of it that way. That $21,970 versus for public, that $49,900 for private universities. That's why it's so important to have a strategy. By being here today, you're obviously looking for some great steps to and some ideas for that very thing, right? To put a strategy together. So while these numbers can seem a bit daunting, right, having the knowledge to tackle these costs can help empower you to take the steps in at least the right direction. So while financial aid can help with these costs, as we'll discuss in just a moment here, essentially there are two ways to pay for college education, and that's going to be saving or borrowing, right? So as you can see from this graphic, it's often less expensive in the long run to save than it is to borrow. Time and discipline may be your greatest allies when creating college savings strategies. Investing a set amount of money each month may seem challenging, but doing so can make a significant impact on reaching your family's goals. So contributing to a college savings plan now has the potential to save your money or your family money when you consider saving versus actually borrowing for college. So we'll talk about saving strategies in just a few minutes, but let's start by talking a bit about financial aid. So there is a document. So I guess first off, when we talk about financial aid, it's important to point out that not all financial aid is a gift. In other words, financial aid comes in a few different forms. There's grants, work studies, scholarships, and then loans. So some of the most attractive forms of financial aid are obviously the grants and work studies and scholarships. But because that's because they don't have to be repaid, right? They're true gifts. Loans, of course, do need to be repaid. Grants and work study are given out largely based on financial need, while scholarships are more awarded based on the student's merit or other criteria. Financial aid officers at your local university can obviously provide a wealth of information on these topics. So people often worry about whether or not their savings has a negative impact on scholarship potential. But that shouldn't be a concern. No matter the amount that is saved, it's not going to stand in between a student, and a merit scholarship, right? It's not going to stand in the way of you achieving or being awarded those, whether or not it's academic or athletic, for example. So worth pointing out that grants, work studies, scholarships don't typically offer full rides, so or all expenses paid. In many cases, these options cover only a portion of the costs associated with higher education. In fact, only 1 in every 300 students gets a full scholarship. So it's wise, it's a wise idea to kind of plan ahead and put a strategy in place in the event that you want to cover part or all of those unexpected education costs that aren't covered by the grants that you're receiving. So, as you can see, student aid can come from several different sources, such as the federal government, institutions, employers, and states. Even so, a large portion of the financial aid pie that you're seeing here consists of loans, which once again need to be repaid. So we actually have a brochure here that talks more into financial aid and the college savings, and I'll bring that up briefly here just so you can see what that is. If this is something that you're wanting additional information on, I can definitely get this information sent out to you. Feel free to reach out to myself. Once again, Chad Plons with Edward Jones here in town, or you can reach out to Danielle Brogley and we can make sure we're getting you this this information. So the best way to help your child or grandchild graduate with low or no debt is actually to build up savings before he or she goes to school, right? It's like saving for retirement. Although you have Social Security or possibly a pension, right? Most of your retirement income will likely come from your personal savings and investments. And the same is true with college. Although grants and scholarships and loans may be available, your savings will likely be the most important piece of the plan. And it's worth pointing out that it's less expensive over the long run to save than it is to borrow. So the most important thing is to start saving, right? So even if it is not as much as you'd like it to be, we're going to talk about a few simple strategies that can help you. First being starting today, right? And we want to start today, start as soon as possible. Invest regularly. Take advantage of tax-free growth potential. So if you're like most people, you may have competing demands for your dollars, right? Between house payments and car payments and saving for retirement, or living in retirements and creating paychecks. So how are you going to fit in college savings into your budget? Well, understandably, you're not saving for education in isolation, right? That's not the only thing that's on your plate. So you'll likely have many goals you're trying to achieve, and that may include your own retirement, right? So many families are having children later in life, and that can mean that children are reaching college age sometimes at the same time parents are even starting to think about retirement, right? So the question then becomes, well, how am I going to balance these important goals, with obviously a limited amount of resources, right? Well, there may be trade-offs such as, okay, well, saving more, right? Retiring later, or providing less for education. So you may need to choose some of these options based on how you're going to prioritize your goals. But one strategy to avoid is delaying saving for retirement in favor of education. Doing this, delaying that saving for retirement, so you can help save more for education. Well, it could put your retirement goal at risk, right? Being able to retire when you want. So time is a very valuable asset. So don't delay saving for one goal or over the other. You need to view them together. And by understanding how your goals interact, you can work to make sure you don't inadvertently derail one of your saving strategies. So, all right. So that first idea of starting today, right? Our first strategy is start saving as soon as possible. Start today. The earlier you start saving, the more time your money has to grow. So over time, a little can actually go a very long way. And you can start with as little as $25 a month. So if you're eligible for a state tax deduction or credit, your contribution may not even cost you that much. So let's look at a hypothetical example. Now, if you started investing $50 a month when your child was born, when the child was born, you could have more than $21,000 saved for college when your child reaches the age of 18. But if your child is 13, is it too late? Right? Well, no. I mean, obviously we didn't get a jump on it early on to optimize, the minimum contributions that can add up over time. Well, even if we only have a few years to save or invest, you can still make a meaningful, contribution if you put away as much as you can. So let's say you invested $200 a month for 5 years, right? You could hypothetically accumulate more than $14,000. So every dollar you save is one less dollar your child will have to borrow or earn with a scholarship. Second here is invest regularly. So if you start saving with a manageable amount, you're most likely to stay disciplined in that situation with your contributions. Maybe you don't have to do it alone. You may want to think, all right, well, do we have family members or friends that may want to help, right? Well, people can actually contribute up to $15,000 per year to any individual without exceeding the annual gift tax exclusion. So there is more information that we can provide on that as well. So once again, reach out to me if you would like some additional information just about how it can take a family to kind of fund this. It takes a village, right, to sometimes help you reach your goals. So we do have some more information on that as well. So as we move forward here, depending on where you're at in stage of life, right? So for those that are dealing or looking to start dealing with what they call required minimum distributions. So at the age of 72, for those that are going to need to start taking what you call required minimum distributions. So, so those folks that are 72 and above, well, they may be in a scenario where they're looking to take money or they're needing to take money out of IRAs. Now, whether or not it's needed or not, the government wants you to take that money out so you can pay taxes, right? So what are we doing with those funds if they're not part of your strategy for income? Well, it may be that this is something that can be used to gift to a grandchild or other family member who may be looking to save for college. So once again, just another strategy that may fall in line with what you're looking to do. So the third thing here is, and the last thing here is to take advantage of the tax-free growth potential. So certain types of accounts allow federally tax-free growth of earnings while the account is invested. So the longer you can delay paying taxes, the better your potential to accumulate more savings, right? So with certain types of accounts, you can also take advantage of tax-free withdrawals at the federal level for qualified educational expenses, which we'll definitely talk more about here. So what are the different ways to save for college? Well, you have a variety of ways to save for higher education, right? So we're going to compare two specific ways, the custodial accounts and 529 plans. So what we're going to be looking at here is, first off, how you can contribute, how the distributions can be used, who controls the contribution limits, and tax treatment. So first off is the custodial accounts. So let's start there. A custodial account is actually a type of investment account. It's the vehicle in which we're looking to put funds into. So anyone, regardless of age or income, can actually contribute to a custodial account, whether or not it's grandparents, parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles, family and friends. The distributions must be used for the benefit of the child, right? So, but they don't necessarily have to be used towards educational expenses, which is the nice part. So the actual minor that the account is set up for, the minor gains full control of the account when he or she would reach the age of majority, which, depending on state, is typically at 18 or 21 years of age. So depending on your wishes for these funds, this may or may not be the level of control over the account that you desire. While there are no contribution limits for custodial accounts, there may be gift tax consequences for contributions over $15,000 per beneficiary, per contributor per year. So, in terms of tax treatment, a portion of the income may be offset by a standard deduction. Some income may be taxed at the beneficiary or even the beneficiary's parents' rate. So we recommend you actually consult your qualified tax professional if you're considering this option with a custodial account, just to make sure that your specific situation is taken into consideration. So 529 plans. So let's take a look at the 529 plan. A 529 plan is a state-sponsored savings plan, and it's designed to help save for future education expenses. So once again, this is specific to education expenses. The account owner actually remains in control of the account for the life of the account. The beneficiary never gains control of these assets. So unless the account owner changes the owner designation. And that's an important point. As the owner of the 529 plan, you would control the funds and can change the beneficiary to another eligible family member at any time, right? So if you have multiple grandchildren and you're wanting to open a 529 for a specific child, and all of a sudden there's brothers and sisters, that are going to be going to school as well, there's potential to change who can access these funds, right, to another beneficiary, another child that can use it. So you can also control how the funds are invested and distributed. Many 529 plans allow you to choose from a range of professionally managed portfolios. So 529 plans have generous contribution guidelines. You may actually contribute up to $15,000 per year per beneficiary without exceeding the annual gift tax exclusion. So 529 plans have a special gifting provision that allows you to actually contribute 5 years worth of annual gift tax exclusions, or $75,000 per beneficiary in a single year, less any other gifts to the beneficiary. Of course, a married couple with 2 children can combine their contributions, right? So instead of 75,000, now a married couple can technically do over, for that 5-year period, $150,000 to each child in 1 year. Once again, something that you'll definitely want to have a conversation with your tax professional about. So, earnings in a 529 plan. Well, they can accumulate federally tax-free. That's one of the great benefits of a 529 is the federally tax-free growth. So, the more you contribute, the more important tax-free compounding becomes, right? In addition, in some cases, contributions are eligible for a state tax deduction or credit. So when you do contribute, that may help with your current state taxes. So, and withdrawals for qualified elementary or secondary tuition expenses and higher education expenses, they're federally tax-free, right? So the growth's tax-free as long as the distributions are being used for a qualified educational expense. Now, qualified higher education expenses, those could include tuition and fees, room and board, including off-campus housing, potentially, to the amount equivalent to what on-campus living looks like, books and supplies, computers and computer equipment, internet access, related services, educational computer software. So the list obviously can change from year to year, so it's always important to, when you're taking a distribution, to check with a qualified tax professional to make sure that there hasn't been any changes to what a qualified expense may be. So qualified primary and secondary expenses include tuition expenses up to $10,000 per year for each beneficiary. So a good place to reference some of this is our education savings plan comparison chart. So once again, another a comparison chart that we can send out to you if you want some more information on just the differences between the 529s and the custodial accounts. So. Well, now I'd like to actually address some common questions about saving for college. So keep in mind, these all pertain to current laws. It's possible over the next 5, 10, or even 15 years that tax, financial aid, and other laws could change, right? So, so a couple different questions that we do see. So can I use 529 plan funds for college outside of my state? So regardless of the 529 plan you choose to invest in, you can use the money for qualified expenses at any accredited institution, public or private, across the country and even some schools abroad. So these institutions include most 4-year colleges and universities and many 2-year community and vocational schools as well. All right, so the next one here is, well, if my child decides not to go to college, will I lose the savings in my 529 plan? Well, you have options if your child doesn't go to college. You can change the account beneficiary, as we previously mentioned, to another qualified family member, or you can take a non-qualified withdrawal. So if funds are used for anything other than qualified expenses in a 529, the portion of the distribution representing the earnings, the growth in the account, will be subject to ordinary income tax, plus a 10% federal tax penalty. So you may not want to know, or you may want to note that eligible family members of the beneficiary include siblings, children, nieces, nephews, parents, children's spouses, or other relatives such as first cousins. So may open up the the ability to be beneficiaries to somebody else if this becomes an issue. I often share this strategy with expecting parents looking to get a jump on savings, right? You can start saving in a 529 plan prior to the birth of your child by naming a beneficiary other than that child. So using the Social Security number and name of that person as the beneficiary, you can be the person named as the beneficiary. Once the child is born and has a Social Security number, you can then switch the name and number of the beneficiary to the newly born child. So note that the funds in a custodial account, however, do not have to be used for education expenses, but must be used for the benefit of the child. So if you want to have savings for both education and other expenses, it may make more sense to put some of your savings in a custodial account and some in a 529. And the next here is, will saving for college lessen my child's chance for qualifying for financial aid? So we touched on this a little bit earlier as well. The student and parental assets and income are considered when applying for financial aid. 529 plans are considered assets of the parent, which may be an advantage over saving in the student's name, such as with custodial accounts. Make sure you discuss potential financial aid impacts with a financial aid professional. Okay, so once again, reach out to the financial aid department. If my child gets a scholarship, will I pay a penalty on my 529 savings? Well, if your child gets a scholarship, that's great, right? Congratulations. That's a large portion potentially of college expenses being taken care of. So an account owner can withdraw from a 529 plan the equivalent dollar for dollar of a scholarship awarded to the plan's beneficiary without triggering the 10% federal tax penalty normally associated with non-qualified withdrawals, right? But when withdrawals are made because of a scholarship, the portion of the distribution representing earnings will be still subject to ordinary income tax. So in this scenario, you're avoiding the 10% tax penalty. Should I use a Roth IRA to save for college? Well, it may seem an attractive idea. Save in one vehicle with the potential to use it for either college or retirement, right? But it may not be the best strategy. Roth IRAs have income and contribution limits. So the first priority of a Roth IRA contributions should be for retirement. I'm a firm believer in mental accounting and truly separating the money being saved for each goal, specifically to large and important goals such as college and retirement. So after you determine your role in providing for education, we can work together to figure out how much you need to save each month to help you get there. Again, there may be trade-offs such as saving more or retiring later or providing less for education, and you may choose any of these options based on how you prioritize your goals. I mean, as I stated earlier, time is very valuable. So don't delay saving for one goal over the other. Instead, try to view them together by understanding how your goals are going to interact. You can work, to make sure that you don't inadvertently derail one of your savings, or the other. So I guess in summary here, we spoke on a number of different things. College education is more important. Saving for college education is more important than ever, right? Just due to the sheer expense of a college education. And that's why it's important to plan ahead and set realistic savings goals, right? So here are a few questions to consider as you establish your goals. First off, will your child go to a public or private college, in state or out of state? And are they planning to do just tuition or room and board as well? How much of the expense do you really want to cover? Or how much financial aid do you expect to receive? Do you have family members or friends that may want to help? Although financial aid and contributions from friends and family members, that may help with college costs, your personal savings will likely play the most important role in your child's college fund. Since you may already be saving for retirement, emergencies, and other financial goals, in addition to the saving for education, it's important to develop a strategy that takes all these, factors into account. A few tips that can help that you're going to want to include in your strategy is starting today, right? Investing on a regular basis. Take advantage of the tax-free growth potential, such as as the 529 savings plans offer. And just using these simple strategies can have a significant impact over time. So I know we covered a lot of information here in less than a half an hour. So obviously, if questions come up, I'm always here. Once again, Chad Plantz with Edward Jones at 519 West Wooster in downtown Bowling Green, or you can obviously reach out to Danielle Brogley at the Senior Center so we can help you discuss any questions that you may have. And Danielle, if you're
Thank you so much, Chad, for your great information today. We will be posting this series from our Lively U Virtual Learning Academy on our YouTube channel. It's the Wood County Committee on Aging, Inc. So you can take a look at other presentations by Chad on this channel, as well as our other featured programs. So thanks again, Chad. We look forward to seeing you in April. And until then.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate everybody's time, and have a great day.
Thanks.
Thank you.